Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wyld. Today we are talking about Uber wants to protect drivers from deactivation due to false allegations. So recently I got an email from one of my subscribers, BC. Thank you so much for emailing me about this and making this video possible. And of course, everybody's gonna have their own opinions on it, but Uber is claiming that they're going to be doing something in order to prevent certain wrongful deactivations from taking place. So with that said, I want to go over everything that's being said in this article, what Uber tells you, what BC's saying versus how it actually is, and everything in between. So with that said, let's get started. If you believe this PR fluff, I have a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. So BC already is like, this is not even real, but let's see what the article they sent is. There's a problem with Uber deactivating driver accounts, and the company is taking steps to change that. In a company blog post on Monday, Uber announced some new initiatives to help drivers and delivery people who feel their accounts were deactivated, basically the equivalent of getting fired, for unfair reasons. Drivers allege that they can lose their accounts due to false accusations or wrongdoing by riders who might be looking for an easy refund. Slight correction on that. This is a problem that is widespread across many gig platforms. It's not Uber specific. And they are taking some steps, and it does seem like the common trend for a lot of these gig platforms is we are tired of the no-tip customers and the scamming customers, and we're trying to take steps against that. Drivers aren't the enemy, but realistically speaking, the company's only going to be looking out for their own pockets at the end of the day. They're just taking a different approach now. To combat this, Uber is giving drivers more ways to appeal and review account deactivation, such as providing audio and video recordings to prove their side of the story. More vaguely, Uber is rolling out some kind of functionality that can supposedly identify users who regularly, and ideally falsely, report driver incidents to stop those ratings from being counted against drivers. The blog post did not specify any technical details as to how this works. So we're going to go over that blog post in this video too. You're going to get a twofer today, but if they're not giving too many details, that's not necessarily a bad thing. There should be a level of transparency there, but if you gave that transparency, people will find a way to game that system too. So I kind of see why they would do that, but I don't know. Still, it's probably for the best that Uber is thinking about this at all. The gig economy is notoriously tough to succeed in, and unfairly losing access to perhaps the most popular and recognizable rideshare app would be a killing blow to any driver's career. And anyone who has ever worked in a public-facing job can tell you that the customer isn't always right. Amen to the latter point. But to the former point, let's say it's more of the courier side of things, more of the delivery side of things, like what we do. That would be a major blow to us as well. Like imagine losing Doordash and Uber and you couldn't get back on them. Now what are you doing? But let's take a look at the other article on the subject that they were mentioning. Becoming the fairest platform for flexible work. Our goal is to make Uber the best platform for flexible work in the world. After a lot of listening and reflection, we have refocused our efforts to innovate for drivers and couriers. We've made good progress and rapidly improving the quality of our app and building features that drivers have been asking for. Which I don't know about that, but we'll find out later, right? I think a lot of drivers have overall been asking for a more fair deactivation system. And in my opinion, it would have been best to have it ran by an outside party that isn't paid for by Uber or DoorDash or anything else. And that way we can get an actual fair determination, but they would rather pay for the arbiters, right? We also know that to be the best platform for flexible work, we must be the fairest. There is one area in particular where we've been committed to making more headway: account deactivations. Blocking someone from accessing their Uber account is one of the most serious decisions we make as a company, and one of the most distressing moments that a driver or courier can experience. Yeah, pretty much, because it's career ending. Now, will they actually be able to undo some of the damage they already done? Probably not. But will this lead to a more fair process in the future? Potentially. Of course, there are many legitimate reasons why a driver can lose access to their account. We must balance access to the app with our commitment to safety and high quality experience for all users. It's our responsibility to not only follow the law, but to enforce our community guidelines. guidelines, which are designed to ensure every experience feels safe, respectful, and positive. Okay, that one feels a little political. Let me fix that.
Of course, there are many legitimate reasons why a driver can lose access to the account, even though that's not at all the reasons that we have deactivated drivers for in the past. We must prioritize our profits and our pockets at the end of the day and make it look like we're committed to safety and a high quality experience for all users, when in reality, this is all about protecting ourselves legally. It is our responsibility to make as much money as possible while pushing as many legal boundaries as possible without breaking them. And the community guidelines is for our uses against you, not for the benefit of all parties involved.
Yeah, that sounds a bit more accurate. Drivers and couriers should have a clear explanation when they lose access and feel they have a voice if their account is deactivated. It's our responsibility to ensure our processes are fair, accurate, and transparent, and that drivers and the public trust we are doing the right thing. Getting back that trust that you have lost to a lot of workers is going to be a very uphill battle for you, friend. We understand the gravity of these decisions, and while we recognize we may not always get it right, we commit to continuously improving. No, you don't. No, you are looking for ways to improve your bottom line and your profit margins, not for us. Let's be realistic. But let's see some of these processes that you're rolling out. Providing a pathway to review a account deactivation decision. Drivers and couriers should have the ability to request an additional review of account deactivation decisions, including the ability to provide new information to support their case. Our expanded in-app review center tells drivers and couriers why their account was deactivated and allows them to request an additional review of the decision and gives them the opportunity to share any additional information like audio or video recordings, which in many cities can now easily be done in the driver app with our audio recording and record my ride features. Which sounds pretty good initially, but if you don't have those recordings, it's going to be a big deal. So make sure you're investing in a body cam and a dash cam so that way you're protecting yourself as much as possible. Protecting drivers and couriers from false accusations. We have heard from drivers and couriers that they sometimes feel like Uber sides with the customers, especially when it comes to complaints that cause them to lose access to their account. We strive to promote safety for everyone who uses Uber, but the reality is the people sometimes make false accusations, often with the intent of getting a refund from Uber. While we may take action to remove these customers from the platform, we know there are still underlying concerns about these reports. I gotta be that guy for a second. I'm glad that they're acknowledging the overall issue. Like I said, it's in this overall trend from all these gig companies that enough's enough. Why are we serving these no-tip customers? And we've been telling them for the longest time that they gotta stop catering to the customers that are choosing to be abusive to drivers. And they're finally doing something. Oh my God. Or at least they're recognizing it. Whether they're actually gonna do something is a different conversation. To address this concern, we've put in place new systems to identify consumers who report incidents and give feedback with the aim of getting a refund or appeasement. Allegations made by these customers will not be considered in driver ratings or drivers or couriers. Account deactivation decisions. We've been excluding low ratings that are the result of factors outside of the driver's control, such as traffic delays, since 2017, and we will continue to do so. And yet you put in an on-time rating for drivers recently. Although that being said, I'm glad that they're starting to put more exclusion towards those customers, because those are the customers that are really the biggest headaches at the end of the day. I want you to imagine something. All of your orders that come in, even if they're lower tip orders, right? None of them are no tip orders, or the people that are choosing the scam are not even on the platform anymore. How much of a better experience would that be for you? Realistically speaking, let's talk about that. Because I'll tell you what, if the number of customers that choose to do malicious things to drivers, or choose to not tip their drivers, or choose to treat their drivers like garbage were just not on the platform, that would eliminate a lot of the problem customers at the end of the day. Helping drivers falsely accused of drug-impaired driving to get back on the road. Drug and alcohol use are never allowed while driving with Uber, and we take allegations allegations of impaired driving very seriously. In many states, we are required to remove a driver's access to Uber if we receive a complaint of suspected impairment. But riders can mistakenly report a driver for impairment, affecting their ability to make money. For example, in states where marijuana use is legal, a lingering odor in the car from a previous rider may prompt a false allegation against the driver. And just like that, you know why I wouldn't do rideshare. Because some places it doesn't matter if you're actually smoking or not, and there are people that enter your car and do things that they shouldn't. Not to mention, this is exactly why I don't do drugs or drink alcohol at all, because I don't want to be on the receiving end of some stupid comment like this. But then again, I was never into that to begin with, so that's not the point. The point is that if somebody accuses you of something like that, you gotta be the guy to say, yeah, no, that's not me. If a US driver accused of driving under the influence of drugs wants to make a drug test to disprove the accusation, we now have a program to assist. Going forward, drivers whose accounts are at risk of permanent deactivation for drug-impaired driving will be provided the option to take the drug test through a nationwide partnership with LabCorp. Uber will cover the cost of testing, whatever the outcome. Now, you see, that is a good move on their part. And I still think that this is one of the better moves on Doordash that they have possibly made, is that they're actually looking to help drivers not be accused of drug use. Like, you have an opportunity to prove them wrong. This isn't going to solve all the account deactivation issues, but at least one of the major aspects are being just closed off entirely. Global principles driving our future work on deactivations. We know we have a lot more work to do on this front, and we will continue to improve not only our underlying policies on technology, but our communication and transparency as well. As we do so, we want to publicly share our global principles for account access, which guide us in this work. Well, this ought to be good. Drivers and couriers should be aware of the behaviors that can put their access at risk, which is why we have GigTubers to begin with, to make you aware of all these things. Drivers or couriers who have been working on the platform for years have built trust with their customers in Uber. We should consider time on the platform and the number of trips and decisions around access, except for serious incidents. They're saying consider the amount of time and number of trips in decisions, but they're not talking about what they're considering specifically. A lot of drivers feel as if the amount of time on the platform that they have is actually a risk overall, because a lot of people have been on the platform are viewed as either an asset or a liability and can seem wrongfully deactivated if something bad were to happen, simply because they got too good as a driver. So are we going to see an increase in that perspective? I don't know. They're just saying consider time on the platform. If any loss of access occurs, Uber should be clear, empathetic, and consist in our communications, and specific and transparent about the reasons behind our decision, except where doing so poses a risk for other users. That is the most politically driven principle I have ever seen, because they are the last thing from transparent. They took away recently, I didn't even notice it until recently, they took away our ability to see the inner details of the orders in which we're doing. Like, they say paid to you, but they used to also say what Uber is making, what customers are making. They don't show you that anymore, but they failed to mention that, didn't they? Outside of the most serious cases, drivers and couriers should have the ability to request a review of any decision that removes access for more than 7 days and can't be resolved on their own. Now, whatever that's gonna look like, I don't know, but we can lose literal weeks and months of income if you choose to wrongfully deactivate somebody, so it's better than the 90 days that Doordash brings, I guess. We should take a consistent approach to creating, reviewing it, and changing account deactivation and review standards. I have a sneaking suspicion that is not going to work in our favor. We're going to continuously create new reasons to deactivate drivers and pretend to review things. I don't know. I feel like that's suspicious the way they said that. This is my opinion. It's worth what you pay for it. None of you pay me. There you go. It looks like they're trying to help. I know that Dara has been making a large number of moves recently. I don't know if it's triggered by the UN trying to get their grubby little mitts on the gig economy, or if it's because Dara actually took some time and actually drove for once as a driver, as both an UberEats driver and rideshare driver. And they're starting to realize that some of these things are nonsense and shouldn't be happening. But it looks like some moves are being done on the wrongful account deactivation side, which is more than I could say for Doordash, which is more than I could say for Grubhub. I guess it's a step in a direction, whether it's positive or negative. I don't know if I 100% believe them. I believe that they're making moves, and I believe that there's a different level of empathy Dara has. Whether that's changing his perspective and actually changing what he's doing with Uber, I sincerely doubt it. But they're doing something. Just remember the rule of the gig economy. Even if they are telling the truth and they are making improvements for us, they will inevitably ruin it. If you guys want to send me something for me to go over as well, my email is drivenwyld@gmail.com, and who knows, maybe you'll get a shout out in a video as well. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.